All right, you guys. So this workout is for those of you who have a TRX. Again, this is a part of a three-part series. You should have received an email with links to three different workouts, all circuits. The first one that's just body weight. Second one that makes use of a dumbbell or dumbbells if you have them. And then this one, which is going to be geared towards, for those of you who have a TRX or similar suspension trainer. And, for those of you who do, you guys have done all this stuff with me before. So none of this should be new. May have been a bit since we've done some of this stuff, but none of it should be new. Just to kind of give you a layout, just like with the other workouts, what we're going to do is your repetition range is going to be 10 to 15 reps per exercise. If you can do 15 pretty easily, let's see if we can up the ante. If you can't quite do 10, then it's time to regress it a little bit. You make sure you rest to allow your breathing to recover in between exercises. Let's see. If you want to create some variety, I mentioned this in the other videos as well. If you want to create some variety, you want to stick with the TRX, let's say. I mean, you can do, if you have all the equipment, you can do if you have dumbbells, right, and a TRX, right, you can do the body weight, the dumbbell, and TRX to create variation while I'm away, or variety, I should say. If you don't, and you want to just stick with the TRX, what you can always do is adjust the amount of rounds that you do. So just for the sheer sake of stimulation and variety, you can do, let's just say on day one, maybe Monday, you do 3 rounds. On day 2, maybe Wednesday, you challenge yourself and you do like 4 to 5 rounds. And then maybe on Friday, you decide you're just going to do 2 rounds. That's a way that you can play with the volume to provide a little bit different stimulation. And you can cycle through that, right? All right, so let's dive in. So the first thing we're gonna do is a squat to row, right? As most of you know, right, the way we start, handles at chest height, right? Bands fairly taut. You're gonna extend on back. We'll walk the feet forward to find what feels optimal for you. You're gonna squat, come up, pull in, and then back out. Down, up, pull in, back out. Now just make sure that you fully extend the elbows. The tendency sometimes is not to fully extend and drop down and kind of do this half hybrid thing. I want you to get nice full extension of those elbows. Right? Now, if you want to make this a little more challenging, what you can do, you can play with a variety by doing a high row. And what all that means is instead of the elbows coming in, you're going to bring the elbows high or up. Palms are going to face down here, right? Shoulders down, elbows in. Instead, if we want to do a high row, just think elbows high, palms facing down. So that's a way you can add some variety. And you can think about pulling the chest through. This targets more of the muscles in the upper back and the back of the shoulder. Whereas when you're doing your regular row, it's a little bit more your lats. Now, if we want to make it another variation, even a little more challenging, in some ways easier actually, is you can do a fly. And that's going to target even a little bit more the muscles of the back of the shoulder. Right? And here, imagine like you're opening up a newspaper or an accordion door at the top. Right? So you can play around with the variations of that. If you're new to this, stick with the squat to row. It's going to be the easiest to manage. All right, so from here, we're going to do an alternating or a rear lunge. So to start off with, again, handles at chest height. We'll drop them down just a little bit, slight bend in the elbows. You're going to step back and lower down. Imagine like you're trying to lower your knee to the floor, as if you were trying to get up and down off the floor. Now, I only want you to go down as far as feels right to you. Just make sure that you're stepping back far enough to where your heel stays grounded, that front heel stays grounded. If we don't step back far enough, that heel will come up and will shift the weight forward. Especially for those of you who have knee issues, make sure you're stepping back far enough that heel stays grounded. Now, for some of you, that's about as far as we want. That's as much as we want to do. 10 to 15 each side. Just make sure you rest Let your breathing normalize in between going to the opposite side. Now, for those of you who want a little more of a challenge, you can alternate, right? One then the other. And so, a little more of a challenge. Again, just making sure you're stepping back far enough on both sides to where that front heel stays grounded. If this is pretty easy for those of you, especially for those of you who are already doing this, be careful if it's something new to you, especially if you have any issues with your knees, but you can do a jump lunge. And if you're already doing this, it feels a little better to alternate than just to stay on one side. The higher you jump, the more intense this is going to be. Again, I would do that. If you're already doing that, go for it. If it's something that's new to you, especially if you have any orthopedic concerns, especially with your knee, best to avoid it. If it's something that is of interest to you, we can always work on it together. All right, from there, we're going to do a bicep curl. Again, handles at chest height, extend back, adjust the feet, palms face up. And the way I like to think about this is elbows forward and up, pinky knuckle towards your cheeks. Elbows forward and up, pinky knuckle towards the cheeks. And just make sure you get a nice full extension of that elbow, because the challenge here is the last portion and that first little pull, right? That's where the challenge really lies in this bicep curl. So get that nice full extension. Now, the tendency is to row, pull the elbows in. Again, just remember, keep the elbows high, in and up, elbows in and up, pinky knuckles towards the cheekbone. If you need more of a challenge, if 15 is easy, walk the feet forward. If 10 is pretty hard, walk the feet back. All right. Now, from there, we're going to do a side lunge. Now, again, I'm going to provide some variations, right? So to start off with, you may want to just do the side lunge, one side, then the other. Here's the trick with these. You want to go, just be careful with this, because sometimes this can pull the adductor muscle, the inner thigh muscle, if you're not careful. So you want to ease into this. But typically, you want to go a little wider than you think. A lot of times we kind of stop short. You want to take those legs really as far out as you can. As long as comfortably. Don't move into anything painful. But a little bit. It's often more wider than people think. Feet slightly turned out, but you don't want to go too far. You don't want to do this, right? Just take a little bit of a turnout with the feet. Handles at hip height. And I want you to imagine like you have a little stool behind your heel, and you're going to sit your hip, tap that stool with your hip. Tap that stool with your hip, right? Tap that stool with your hip. And for some of you, this is just going to be a bit of a stretch, and that's okay, right? It may just be a stretch. 10 to 15 each side, right? If you want more of a challenge, maybe alternate. Go side to side, side to side. If that's pretty easy, a little bit more dynamic version is to step out and lunge, right? Step in, step out and lunge, right? Same thing, 10 to 15 each side. If you want to take it a step further, for those of you who are already doing this, go for it. Just be careful if this is something new to you, especially if you have any orthopedic concerns, knee, hip, low back. And for those of you who know, you're going to step out 9 o'clock, back 5 o'clock. Step out 9 o'clock, step back 5 o'clock, right? 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock. On the other side, right? 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock. 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Now, if you're moving dynamically like that, just make sure when you make contact that foot stays fully loaded, right? The tendency sometimes, again, is to let the heel lift up and to go into the ball toe. You want that full foot loading. Heel, ball of toe, toes, all making contact. All right, again, 10 to 15. If you're doing the side lunge to reverse lunge, do 5 up to 8 in each direction, right? Meaning 1, 1, 2, 2. Again, I would limit it to 5. And those of you who are already doing this, you know you're used to it. All right, so moving on. The next thing we're going to do is just a row. Handles at chest height, extend on out, right? Adjust your feet accordingly, shoulders down, elbows in. You know, the cool thing about these is you can really take these to fatigue. That being said, if you can do 15 easy, walk your feet forward. Just be careful. There comes a point where walking those feet too far forward, you're going to feel like you can slip. And those of you who already do this know what I'm talking about. You know, there comes a certain point where you're just better off taking your feet all the way against the wall, right? And doing like an inverted row. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't do it. But for those of you who do, go for it. The other option, right? If this is pretty easy, you can try doing that high row to give you variety. You can play with that. Just be careful. Sometimes this can be a little challenging on shoulders because it shifts the intensity to the front of the shoulder a little bit. It kind of changes the joint dynamics. All right. So again, as always, right? If 10's hard, walk the feet back. 15's easy, walk the feet forward. Right? Shoulders down, elbows in. Again, the tendency is to over rotate. Right? Think shoulder blade in the back pocket, elbow in the front pocket. Try to find those lats. All right, moving on. The next thing we're going to do is a little bit of a recovery. So as you're doing this as a circuit, right, this will give you a chance to break a little. We're going to do a rotation. Handles at hip height, right? Almost imagine like you're riding a bike, right? And then or you're swinging, doing a golf swing, right? It's all about the hip. So little bit of a backswing. And then come up. Little backswing and come up. Little backswing and come up. Right? Notice at my end position, hips and shoulders line up, hands for the most part line up. I don't want to over rotate. Right there. This is all about that rotation from the hips. Rotation from the hips. Right? Go 5 to 8 in each direction. 5 to 8 in each direction. Now notice too, I've got my foot slightly turned out. Right, so I'm not here, I'm slightly turned out. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the straps down and we're gonna turn you around. We're gonna do a push-up. Now, with the push-up, right, just like with the rows, right, it's all about the position of the feet. So the further the feet are back, the more intense it's going to be. The further the feet are forward, the less intense it's going to be. I always want to maintain kind of the same angle at my shoulders, and that's about 90 degrees, a little bit less, right? Around 90 degrees or a little less, right? My torso and my arms. That makes sense? So, right, notice how the band hovers just above the shoulder and upper arm. That's where I want it to sit. No matter if I'm here, no matter if I'm here, right? The band kind of hovers just above that upper arm, right? And again, the joint angle of the torso and arm are the same. The other thing that it's important when you're doing your push-up is you're making a plank. Little tuck in the pelvis, engage in the core, right? As always, start the inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position, exhale, press away. Start the inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position, exhale, press away. Right? If 15 is pretty easy, walk your feet back. If 10 is pretty hard, walk your feet forward. Also notice I'm really stopping where my elbow's in line with my shoulder, no further. I don't need to go all the way down here. That's going to put a lot of stress on the front of my shoulder. Stop, elbows in line with the shoulder. Right? The other thing is, notice it's kind of hard to see from that angle, but the handles kind of come in almost like you would do a dumbbell press. That's the beauty behind the TRX, is they can kind of come in as opposed to when they're flat on the floor, right? You can't get that full range of motion. So play with that. The next thing we're going to do is kind of a tricky one. It's called a sprinter start, and it's a type of lunge. It's a little tricky to get into, but they're kind of fun to play around with. Just be careful, but have fun with them. The band, the strap goes under the arm. The hand goes from the outside in, right? So I'm going to put my thumb into the handle, right? And I'm going to pin the strap into my armpit. Right? The other thing I want to do is I want to kind of get nice and tight here. I want the handles right up against my chest, right kind of in my armpit, shoulders down, elbows in. So I've got a little like it's like a little harness, right? I'm not, you don't want to be here. You want this, you want your hands to be everything to be one solid unit. Then from here, what we're going to do, plant that foot, right? We're going to step this back foot back and up, right? Back and up. You're driving off that front foot. Now, if I want to make this a little bit more challenging, I'm going to drive that back knee up as I come forward. Now, if I want to make this even more challenging, let me just move over a little bit so you can see me. I can add a little hop at the top. Okay. And the other side, same thing. Let yourself rest and recover in between. Step back and forward. Back and forward. Loading that hip of the front leg. Loading the hip, glute of the front leg. Again, make it more challenging. Drive the knee through. Notice I'm kind of swinging, using the TRX straps as a harness to swing back and forward. Again, if I want to make it even more challenging, I'm going to drive that knee up, add a little hop at the top. All right. Now the last one we're going to do, this one's a little tricky. And if this is new to you, be cautious. You may want to avoid this one. If you just can't figure it out, then let me know. We can do something in lieu of this. Or, you can just drop it all together and we can always address it when I return. But we're going to do a TRX tricep extension. And the way to get into this is what this looks like for those of you who know, right? Plank position, little tuck in the tailbone, engaged in the core. Let the elbows bend and the body come through. You're going to imagine like you're touching the back of the hands towards the top of the head. And notice my upper arm stays parallel with the ground the entire time. Now, what I like to do to lock the handles in place, I like to interlace my thumb around the upper triangle of the handle on both sides, right? And that helps just kind of keep this handle as one solid unit. And so again, we're going to tuck the pelvis, engage the abs, start the inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position, exhale, push away. Start the inhale, feel the expansion, lower into position, exhale, push away. Now, if you want more challenge, walk your feet back. Less, walk your feet forward. Now, these can be a little funky though. So if you have to walk your feet pretty far forward, what you might find is it actually feels better to take a staggered stance. And so what I mean by that is, let me see if I can show you. So I like to put, so if I've got my ball toe in line with my front heel. And that just gives you a little bit more, imagine like a rail on a rocking chair. It just gives you a little bit more surface or a base of support, right? But everything else is the same, right? You don't have to switch legs. Go with whatever feels best for you because we're working your triceps. Again, 10 to 15. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can always send me videos as well. Let me know how you're doing. All right, you guys. Well, listen, see you in a couple weeks. Aloha, and yeah, see you soon.